Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 305. Today we're going to talk about Shinobi clans. And if you had a chance to watch my post-Gen Con wrap-up sort of live Q&A on YouTube, I did mention this was my biggest surprise of Gen Con. So it's a game that very much reminds me of Cheaty Mages, which came out I believe last year, and Colossal Arena, which is a Reiner Knizia game, which came out I'm not sure when, because it came through some different incarnations. So this game, if you like those two games, this game really reminds me of those. So let's jump into how the game works, and I'll come back and tell you what I think of it. Okay, so here are all the components that you're going to get in the game. Now this nice little component here, this is showing the gold that you were going to get for winning contracts on these different targets every round. So after 3 rounds, you're going to play. Whoever has the most gold is going to be the winner. And each player is going to get a little stack of contracts in their color. Now there are 5 actual sort of targets in the game. Right now I have 3 dealt out. There are 3 dealt out every round. And if I was the red player here, I might choose at the beginning of the round if I expect the daimyo to be assassinated or if I expect the daimyo to be protected. And there's one for each of these, or one set for each of these targets here. Now players are going to have a direct influence on whether or not a target is assassinated or protected. And they're going to do so by playing these different types of cards here. But before you actually get these cards in your hand, you're going to do a draft. Now the rules give you a couple of ways to draft, and the gameplay is actually very different based on the type of draft. Now they have like a basic draft and an advanced draft. A basic draft, you're going to get, depending on the round, you're going to get a certain number of cards in your hand that you're going to keep, and then you're going to draw a certain number of draft cards, and you're going to kind of do a 7 Wonder style draft. You have some cards, you pick one, you pass it around, and then you get the next card, next hand, you keep a card and go on and so forth. So that's a very interesting way to draft because you don't have a good sense of what people have selected. Now let's look at the advanced draft. Now the advanced draft is more like a perfect information draft. And what you're going to do is you're going to deal cards face up equal to the number of players times 2. So in this case we've got a 3-player game since we have 6 cards, and somebody is going to have the first pick token. Now that's going to be the start player for the round for the first sort of session of drafting for that round. So if I was the first player with the first pick, I would choose a card. Everybody would notice that I'm choosing a weapon. Weapons are interesting because you can apply them for guarding or assassination. I'll get to more what these do in a second. The next player would maybe pick this adept assassin, and then the third player or the last player would take 2 cards, and then we'd go back around. So the second player would maybe take this card, and then I would take this card. So we'd each have 2 cards, and then we would deal out 6 more cards. We'll do that really quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the first pick marker is going to rotate to the second player. So in this case, I would be last. So one guy chooses 1, another chooses that one, I choose 2, and then we go back around the horn. And we do that until each player has 10 cards. So we're going to do that 5 times. Now the reason this is different is because you can see what everybody picks. So in this case, you cannot go, you shouldn't really go, in my opinion, heavy assassination if you only do assassin, assassin, assassin. Because then people can see kind of what you're, what they can deduce what you're going to do better. Whereas the other kind of draft, you can be a little bit more hidden, a little bit more sneaky, but you can be just as sneaky with this if you're going to bluff, etc. Now after players have drafted, that's when you're going to make the selection here. And maybe I will say, yes, I think the daimyo is going to die and the merchant here is going to live. You're always going to select 2. You put them face down so nobody sees what you're doing, and obviously you can't select both daimyos. You can't expect them to live and die at the same time. And then we're going to go into rounds of card play. Now if you take a closer look at our targets here, you can see underneath here we have a little reward modifier, and these are randomly dealt as well. So we can see the merchant, whoever picks the merchant to live like we did, is going to get $4 as a reward. If you pick the merchant to die, and it does die, then you get $6. So the counterbalance to always having a little bit more for assassination, you can see each of these has a built-in dollar amount for the assassination, is they have built-in defense already. So these little crown icons there, little samurai helmets, are built-in defensive points. So now players are going to take turns playing cards. And there's several different types of cards in the game. I'm just going to go over them quickly. So you can see this one is an assassination card because it's got the 4 points of assassination there. Here you have a Guardian card here, and you can see this has 5. And these cards are always played face down on a target. So let's say I played that one there, my opponent played that there. we both know that we're involved with this particular, you know, target. Maybe you could be bluffing. You could just play, you know, your worst card there and pretend like you're interested in the outcome of that card. But these are played face down. Now, these weapons here are played face down, but they're played to either the left or the right of the card. And you can see the weapons usually apply to either guarding or assassination. So let's go ahead and play that there. Now, the next type of card here is the meddler, and this will actually change the reward. And this is kind of a good one actually to sort of bluff, because you know some of these are actually negative, so you can stick that up there early on, you know, whatever they think, oh, I'm involved with that. Meanwhile, you're just trying to decrease the reward for whoever may win there. But you go ahead and place that face down there. And then we've got some other cards to play here. Now we have specialists here. Most of these are also played face down, but they will say sometimes, you know, play this face up. So this is remove the card under the bomb maker. So if we play this, what's going to happen is we're going to reveal all this stuff at the end of the round. He's actually going to destroy the card underneath him. Here's another specialist here, joins the weaker side when resolved. You discard it if it's equal. So this is a very tricky card to play. So you might play this one, you know, somewhere just to mess with somebody, or, you know, try to keep it around. It's very hard to control that card. And then we have events, and these are just, you'll play events face up. So you say draw 2 cards, play one immediately, put the other in your hand. Here's another one, draw a random card from a player's hand and play it immediately. So those are interesting because you can get cards that you didn't have, and nobody's really sure, you know, what you did. If you draw from the draw pile, they're like, okay, he drew a card and played it. But what the heck was that? I didn't see him draft that, you know, during the game, or he stole it from me and then played it, and I'm like, okay, is he trying to, you know, bluff me and all that stuff? So there is some cool effects and things that can happen in the game. Here we have a weapon, actually. If we take a look there, that's a weapon, and this says reduce the total power of the ninja and weapon in the imposing battle slot by half. So sometimes cards are going to refer to battle slots. So let's put that card there as an example. So if we take a look here, let's say we've played it out. You play till either everybody plays all their cards or somebody passes. And then you'll just go through and resolve all these targets. So we're going to start flipping over cards here. So we'll go ahead and flip over the weapons. And so this one says remove the card under the bomb maker, so we discard him. So we're going to take that, and then he's going to remove here this meddler here. So that's not going to affect, you know, the overall reward there. And then the next card here, this is the assassin. As you flip over assassins and guardians, these are going to start to go into slots. So for example here, if we had another assassin there, he would go into what's considered battle slot 2. So you've got 1 and 1 and 2 and 2 on either side. So the next card here would be a guardian there, and he would come here, for example. And then this one here would come out here. And so there's a guardian. So you can see what we're really trying to do is add up the total of the guardian symbols versus the assassin symbols, but we do have some special effects to resolve here. So if we said remove the assassin in the opposing battle slot, and also this one says, because these are kind of redundant, but reduce the total power of the ninja and the weapon. So if this guy was here and he was just kind of a normal guardian, we would just reduce the total power. So this is 8, which is quite a bit, so we would reduce that to 4. But he's here, so he's actually going to remove the assassin from there. And if you ever have a weapon all by itself, it's pointless. It doesn't do anything, so it goes away. So in this case, we have 3 assassin points, as you can see here from the master there. And then we're going to add that to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guardian points. And if it's equal to or higher, then the guardian's going to win. Otherwise, if the assassin's higher, then whoever voted for that to win. So in this case, we made a good call because the merchant is to live is what we selected, so we get $4. Whoever was trying to assassinate him would get nothing. Then we resolve all the other stacks and go on from there. And you just have another little round of drafting, and then a third round, and then that's the end of the game. Whoever has the most gold at the end is going to win. And I should say there are a fair bit of cards with special effects, and the rulebook does a good job of sort of, you know, outlining some of the different scenarios, gets you some examples of, you know, how to resolve that this card interacts with this card and the different battle slots and all that good stuff. Okay, hope you enjoyed the overview, and as I said at the beginning in my other videos, this is the surprise of the convention for me because I had heard nothing about it. You know, I saw some cool artwork, and that was, you know, looked neat, and it's a ninja game, but not very many good ninja games, really. And I'm really surprised by this. It really has replaced Cheaty Mages and definitely Colossal Arena for me. Now the reason it's replacing those is because it's almost like you're betting. Now you're not putting up any money or anything, but you are picking a side for two of the different targets. So you have to, you know, pick a side before you really see anything happen, but you've got to do that based just on the information from a draft. And those drafts are really two different modes of the game. And as I said in the walkthrough, I guess they call it the basic draft, is a little bit more traditional draft where you're kind of reading what you're receiving and, you know, trying to process that and sort of dealing with that and really trying to read the other player, you know, almost like a metaphysical sense. Now the advanced draft, or I call the open draft, is very much sort of calculable almost. I mean, you can't calculate, but you can add more variables into your calculation to figure out what people are doing, even though you can still bluff on top of that. So I like the dynamics of those two different modes, and I really don't have a favorite. I was kind of leaning towards the open draft as my favorite, but you know, now I've played it a few times, it's like, well, I can just play either way. It's just kind of how you want to have the information presented to you. Because with the open draft, you still have, okay, you took a little bit more of assassins, but everybody kind of knows that, so you can't just take all assassins, because people know, okay, when I'm playing a card here, it's probably an assassin, so I know he's going to try assassin, and I remember he had the 3 level, all that stuff. You can kind of deduce all that stuff. But you can still fake people out. You know, you can go here with a junky card, and they think you're going there, but it's like, well, he's not really going there. So it has all that levels of stuff. And the thing is let me get back to the other two games. Colossal Arena is awesome until the very end of the very last round, and the end game is super wonky, and the rules, they've had like 3 different ways to end the game. They can't figure out the right way to do it. So they kind of, it's like, it's really good, and then it goes boom, and it just falls flat at the very end. Now Cheating Mages has an issue sometimes with sort of a runaway leader, and then they can kind of slow bet the rest of the way. You know, it's such a quick playing game, I don't really have an issue with it because you can catch up. I've seen people catch up plenty of times. So this one though, it keeps everything very confined, and the reward amounts are nicely balanced. I think the special effects are nicely balanced, and there is some very crucial, it feels very crucial to make your decisions in terms of who you're picking and, you know, which you're going for, because it has the same thing in Cheating Mages where it's like, well, I don't go for the one that's just going to give me the most money because that's obvious. But then, you know, I know you know, or think you know, and all that stuff. Is that the poison in front of you or in front of me? So it has all that sort of layers and things happening, and just the different draft modes that you can do. I didn't get into every single detail because the draft actually changes as you go from round to round in both modes. But that's really interesting as well because you can get a little bit more of a read out of that. So there's a lot of deduction, a lot of reading, a little bit of shell game type of stuff happening with this, but very smartly done. It feels very sort of mathematically balanced like a Knizia would. So it has all that kind of stuff going for it, and really kind of crazy out of this world art. So I would definitely take a look at this. This is a good lunch game, and one that we've been enjoying, and you know, I've been enjoying otherwise as well, not just at lunch. So take a look at it. Shinobi Clans. Thanks.